I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com, and Nokia is making a bold effort to get back in the US smartphone market with the high-end Nokia Lumia 900. It's packing a single-core 1.4 gigahertz processor, a beautiful design, a 4.3-inch display, and an 8-megapixel camera, and better yet, it's $100 on contract and available in blue and black on April 8th and available in white on April 22nd, also for $99.99. Is this the must-have device? Can this save Windows Phone? Can this increase those market share numbers? So like I said in part one, this could be a great turnaround for Nokia. They're obviously trying to revitalize their image both in the US and abroad, and they've staked it all on Windows Phone 7. This is the Nokia Lumia 900, and this is part two of the review. Be sure to check out part one if you haven't already, and special thanks to Best Buy Mobile for hooking us up with phones like this for use in our One Paw Bandit game. When you go into Best Buy Mobile, you'll walk out working with your Lumia 900. They'll help you set up your tiles, your email, your phone settings, and more, so when you walk out the door, you're good to go. So back to what I was saying in part one, this could be a huge thing for Nokia, and I think if they play their cards right and they get the right amount of marketing from AT&T, this thing could be a fantastic success. $99 on contract, you really can't beat that. But let's jump right back into part two and take a look at Windows Phone. Obviously, beautiful polycarbonate shell here, beautiful device with a 4.3-inch display. It represents the first real high-end Windows Phone that isn't a rehash of Android, and that's a nice touch. Obviously, the Titan 2 has a 16-megapixel camera, and it's on its way. It launches on the 8th as well on AT&T, but it launches for $200, so that's something to keep in mind as opposed to this, which is $99 and available in a range of colors. And you know, Nokia has always done a really good job with call quality, which we'll talk about in part two as well, along with battery life. So let's load up Hotmail, for example, here. Here's my Windows Live account. This is what the email interface looks like. And like I said, you scroll over, and when you see text like this popping off the screen, all you have to do is scroll over to unread to urgent, and you can access all of those quickly and easily. I'll admit, when I first worked with a Windows Phone, something about me, it drove me nuts that the text was off the screen like that. I've gotten used to it since, and I find it to be kind of a nice aesthetic look, or looks pretty aesthetically pleasing, and you can see that I'm in my inbox. Now, you can link inboxes as well. If you have, two personal ones and a work one, or a couple of work ones and a couple of personal ones, you can link those inboxes together and create a unified inbox where you can respond and get all of your emails in one central place. Now, down here, you can add an email, obviously, and it'll say sent from my Windows Phone. It brings up that keyboard again, though you'll notice that obviously an email, it's a white background, so the keyboard is white here, and of course you can attach stuff, you can send, and then get rid of the individual email, and you can see the cool little animation that it does when I do that. So obviously you've got some stuff down here. You can select emails, click that, and I can mark it as red. I can come in here and we'll say mark as red, and I've got my little settings button along with my little shortcuts down here at the bottom. So that's a quick look at email. Let's go into Internet Explorer and take a look at the browser and load up, hey, who's that on that AT&T newsroom feed? That guy looks familiar right there. Let's take a look at PhoneDog.com. Wait for that to load up. Now, obviously, a great experience in the browser, and you can see the transition effects are nice and quick, and it's got a nice little transition effect to it. It looks aesthetically pleasing. It's very graphically nice. So even though, unlike some Android devices where it just is kind of a blocky transition, it's a nice change. It kind of fools your eye. So even though it takes 1 or 2 seconds to fully transition, it fools your eye into thinking it's much faster than it actually is. So pinch to zoom, very responsive here, and of course it's not even fully loaded. Actually, it is fully loaded. I stand corrected. You can see pinch to zoom, relatively responsive. No flash in this device just yet, though. So you'll see, no advertisements, and of course anything that supports flash isn't going to play on Windows Phone right now. But you can come out here and take a look at tabs, and we can bring PhoneDog down into a separate tab, load up a new one, go back to tabs, and quickly access PhoneDog. So I found that, as you're seeing right now when I'm going through these tabs, I found that working with Windows Phone, much like iOS and to a lesser extent Android, it involves a certain rhythm. It involves a rhythm of with your hands, with the way that you operate and your overall gestures. I found that I'm obviously most used to Android and iOS, so my gestures are a little bit off. But I will say, after working with this device for a couple of days non-stop, I can easily get the correct gestures and make that pinch to zoom look buttery smooth, for example. So a lot of it's getting used to your actual device, learning how it works, and getting used to the overall gesture support. So let's take a look at the 8-megapixel camera as well. 8 megapixels, 720p HD video recording, a camera shortcut button over here on the side. All I have to do is press it, and it takes me right in to the camera. Now, I love the interface that comes with Windows Phone's camera, because not only do you have your settings here, you got the ability to quickly zoom. We'll bring in some glasses and take a look here. Obviously, you can see the glasses right there. Quickly zoom in just by clicking the plus and the minus button. I've got the ability to switch over to the front-facing camera, which you can see me right there. Hello! And then go back to the video camera here where I can shoot in 720p if I so desire. Now, I've got the settings down here. I can go through those, turn the flash on and off, change focus mode, scenes, ISO, and more. But what I really like is I'm taking pictures. I'm ready to go to the gallery. All I do is swipe back and forth, and you can see some of the pictures that I've taken. Let me turn that one around so you can get a better look. And of course, color seems to look pretty decent. It's a mediocre camera. It's not going to be the best in the world. I don't think it compares to other devices on the market, like the iPhone 4S. And I'm sure, and we'll do some testing when it actually comes in, but the Titan 2 and its 16 megapixel camera is probably going to be a little bit of a threat in the camera department alone to the Lumia 900, but still a relatively decent picture, especially if the lighting is right. So we'll take a picture here of these glasses, focus in, half press to focus, full press to take the picture. And again, you can see once it takes a picture, it shifts it over to the side, and I can easily access it from there. Now from there, I can click those three buttons. I can share it, share on a SkyDrive. I can use it as my wallpaper, so I can come in here and share with my various email accounts, with my various Twitter accounts like Carbon, or various Twitter apps rather like Carbon, Twitter itself, or Rowie or Rally, I'm not sure exactly how it's pronounced, Rowie, Rally, Lite, and I can easily send the picture that way. Now, three capacitive buttons down here control most of your experience throughout the device. A back button here, your home button, and then your search button. Now I can press and hold home, press and hold back. And you can see all the different running stuff that I have. So this is kind of a multitasking tool, and much like iOS, it's kind of a half-baked multitasking tool here on Windows Phone. I can scroll back through and easily get back to email, but it kind of picks me up where I left off. It's not real multitasking as opposed to something like Android. Now obviously the trade-off there is battery life. This thing's going to have significantly better battery life comparing apples to apples as opposed to Android, because the multitasking just isn't here on Windows Phone. And on that topic of battery life, it has a 1,830 milliamp hour battery, so a pretty big battery in this bad boy. That said, it does have AT&T's 4G LTE connectivity, so if you're in a market that has LTE, your battery drain is obviously going to be significantly better, or greater rather, than it would be if you're in an HSPA market. I've gotten a full day's use pretty easily out of this device. You know, Nokia quotes 7 hours of talk time, and I can't remember exactly the standby time. It's 7 hours of talk time, and if I remember right, a couple hundred hours of standby. It's, let me think. If I remember right, 300 hours of standby, so about 12.5 days of standby. That said, I can make it through a day with moderate use, you know, putting it down and being on the phone, doing some, you know, downloading of apps, text messaging, and more, because I am using this device as one of my personal phones right now. I can make it about 12 hours, 11, 12 hours before the device requires a recharge of some sort. That's with LTE. I consider that to be pretty decent, considering LTE connectivity is on all the time on this device. And obviously LTE is a little bit of a battery drain. Let's load up bandwidth here and take a look. Now the LTE speed, you know, I'm seeing these killer speeds in New York and some of these other 4G LTE markets, just not seeing it in the Charlotte metro area. I'm pulling speeds, and I'll show you here. Actually, we can go into the history. You can see the speeds I'm pulling. This is all LTE, 6.86, 10.84. That's actually the best I've seen on this device so far. 7, 5, about 7, 8.15, 4.96. Nothing like the 21 megabits per second or 25 that I'm seeing from some other reviewers that are based in Chicago and New York. But you can see we'll load it up on the Shelby server right now. Again, LTE much better than HSPA Plus speeds that I've seen in the Charlotte metro area, but for whatever reason, this market just does not do well with wireless. Take it with a grain of salt, though. If you're in New York or Chicago, a lot of people are seeing speeds between 20 and 30 megabits per second. Obviously, AT&T's LTE network isn't as cluttered and isn't as overloaded as Verizon's LTE network, which has been around longer, has more customers on it, and has more available devices that you can take advantage of that LTE with. So 6.54 megabits per second, 1.61, give it a year, those speeds may drop a little bit just as more people get on AT&T's LTE network. Right now it's only available in, I think, 28 markets. I think 2 more are coming, so somewhere between 25 and 30 markets, and as it increases, I think those speeds will get a little bit lower, so keep that in mind as time goes on. So you've got that bandwidth, you know, still pretty decent there, and battery life I've been relatively impressed with as well. I'll take a look at some of the Nokia apps here. Nokia Drive and Nokia Maps, 2 of my favorite applications, both available for free through the Windows Phone Marketplace. We'll load up Nokia Maps here, for example, and come in on where I'm at, and let's find Aaron Baker. Aaron Baker is in the city. There we go. Aaron Baker's in the city, and then you can see the city of Charlotte right there. So I'm in there, and of course should be able to rotate it around. No, I'm sorry, I can't do that in this one. And then I can pull out the layers and take a look at satellite, public transportation, or traffic, so we can take a look at some of the city traffic right now. Obviously it is just after rush hour. Our rush hour is pretty early in Charlotte, so it is just a little bit after rush hour, but you can see you got some little bit of congestion on John Belk, but other than that, not too much going on. Let's see if we can get in like First Ward or somewhere around the epicenter and take a look at some of the traffic there. Let's see what we can see here. Traffic. Not wanting to show anything. Then down here I have places, favorites, and I can go find my favorite restaurants and more. I've always complained that yes, you do get that functionality in Maps, which comes pre-installed on the device, but it's not nearly as robust as some of the other options like Google Maps on Android, MapQuest, which is an app available obviously on iOS, and more. So you get better options on those. Nokia Maps is a huge improvement in that department, and it's free, so you get a couple of different options. I've got Nokia Maps, Nokia Drive, and Maps from Windows Phone pre-installed in this, so I'm pretty good in the navigation department, needless to say. You've got Microsoft Office as well, so you can create and edit certain documents. You can do Word, Excel, and you can take a look at PowerPoint documents, so you can't actually edit those on the device, as you can see right there. And you have the SkyDrive functionality, so you can store stuff in the cloud through Windows Phone. I did notice I was having some trouble signing up for Zune Pass, because obviously I'm jumping around pretty quickly here, but you've got music and videos. I have unlimited music with the Zune Music Pass for $14.99. Was having some issues signing up directly from the device. And when you look at a phone like iOS, or you look at an operating system like iOS, or a phone like the iPhone, where the media ecosystem is just second to none, this is an area where Windows Phone really has to catch up, and catch up fast. They've got the Zune integration. They can really do a better job with this, where the sign up is quick and painless, and within 3 minutes I'm listening to my music. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case this time around. On that topic, Windows Phone or Windows Marketplace, about 70,000 apps in Windows Marketplace. And just to give you a quick look, you can see AT&T featured, Nokia collections, apps, games, music, some suggested apps, some suggested games, music, and more. So I can go into actual applications. We'll go into Skyscanner just for example. You can see the actual icon, some details about it, reviews, some screenshots, and then of course related applications and some details, back to details. And then I can install it from there. So all in all, really good device. I'm really pleased with this phone. I think there's a lot of potential here. We're up to the 70,000 mark in the marketplace. So even though the app catalog isn't quite as robust as Google Play or as the App Store, there's still some great options in here. And I think combined with that, a killer form factor here, I think Nokia has the possibility of hitting it out of the park with this. It's really going to depend on AT&T's marketing, how their retail reps position this device to consumers that are walking in and upgrading from something else. It's a huge opportunity. It's a good device. I'm really pleased with it. Love the build quality. This is the first Windows Phone that I've really been interested in from a build quality perspective, from a specs perspective with a 4.3-inch display, and the fact that it's $100, because hey, for $100, a polycarbonate shell, a 1.4 gigahertz processor, a 4.3-inch AMOLED display, that's a pretty decent bang for the buck. Much more coverage to come on PhoneDog.com with the Nokia Lumia 900 on AT&T. Keep it locked on the site because I'm doing a 30-day challenge with this device. It's on one of my personal lines. It's going to be the most epic challenge ever. Really excited about it. So stay tuned and keep it locked in that video series as I learn a little bit more about the device, the apps I love, the apps I hate, as I go into that 30-day challenge. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/PhoneDog, and on Twitter, PhoneDog_Aaron. Let me know what you think of this phone, and on Facebook at my personal page, facebook.com/PhoneDogAB. Thanks so much for watching. More to come on the Nokia Lumia 900 on PhoneDog.com.